Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men and Sex. I'm your host, Mr. Wood. This podcast is all about normalizing taboo conversations. We talk about sexuality, we talk about intimacy, masturbation, all the things that get locked behind closed doors. We bring them here and we have conversations. I like to bring on men to the podcast to speak anonymously about their journeys, and I also like to bring in teachers, people that are in the world creating opportunities for people to grow and expand in their relationship to self and relationship to others. Today, I've got two dear friends on the podcast today, and we've got a lot of juicy stuff to dive into about their story. This is Tony and Cris from Awakened Amara, and we are going to talk about the community building that they're doing in Austin that's focused on Tantra, sacred sexuality, embodied intimacy, all sorts of juicy stuff. Welcome to the show, Tony and Cris. Great to have you.
Thank you.
So happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I told them both that I wanted to riff a little bit before we dove in because I was with bringing them on the show to talk about what they're doing in their lives. I had my own passions kind of bubble in thinking about this topic today and what I wanted to dive into with what they're leading, which is around what we're facing as a society today, that is disconnection. We have all these devices that have the opportunity to connect us, but what we're seeing is a lot of disconnection. And what I've thought about, am I going to say these words on the show or not? And I feel passionate about is social retardation. That we're just seeing a lot of people that don't know how to socialize with one another. And it's understandable because we don't grow up in cultures or communities anymore where there's this social structure and you're around your family and you're around your community all the time, learning these things that are required to relate with another person. And so, what I want to dive into, Tony and Cris lead different levels of experiences that help people learn how to connect with themselves, become more attuned to themselves, and then learn how to relate with other people. And that there's actually tools that we can share and talk about. And they have, experiences that go from connection and eye gazing to sensuality and touch, and then all the way to sexuality and intimacy. And there's things that we can learn along the way. So that's my passion about this conversation. And before we dive into actually your events and all that, let's just hear a little bit about you and your journeys and how you even got here into this.
Mm.
Love that question.
Yeah. That's a good question. I always like to say, I originally was raised in Northwest Arkansas, and it was a very conservative, religion focused community, not very diverse, all the things that you would stereotypically think about Arkansas. And, so just like a lot of who I was like extremely suppressed. So through this like lifetime of like exploring and adventuring and looking for these big experiences and just like where is it safe for me to like express myself of who I really am, that has been like kind of the trajectory that has like driven us to, you know, land eventually where we are here in Austin. But like that suppression, which is like I think that's the first step of kind of like what you're talking about is like how do we consciously connect with somebody? Well, one thing is like just removing the mask and saying who the fuck you really are, right? Of like this is who I am. I'm not interested in like the stereotypical normal monogamous relationships. I'm not necessarily only interested in like connecting with women. Like there's a lot of different things that are like placed on a lot of people that if you can't just express who you really are, then like it just creates this fear of connecting with people. Like not only there's like what you mentioned, there's like we're not trained. And then
Mm.
if we also grow up in an area that all of like who you are is suppressed, that just adds another layer of like difficulty in connecting with people. So like from my perspective, it's like and like my driving force was like the safety to show up of like express yourself who you really are and like to find places that you can do that, which led us to like looking for those communities. So we traveled around and we found communities and along the way and landed here in Austin. So that's like my side of the
Yeah,
story.
I think that's perfect. Like similar background. Just a little bit different. I was raised Catholic, Mexican Catholic, so very much there was only one path that I knew of. I didn't know there were options to life, so you could do all these things. But we lived here because when I met this man, he showed me a new way of relating. He was the first person that's like telling me about polyamory or about even just like dating more than one person. So we're here now because we've had to learn so many things, right? When we first got together and started our open relationship, we didn't know anything. I didn't know how to have a good conversation with somebody. I didn't know how to set my boundaries. I was scared. I didn't feel safe. So we're here really because we wanted to learn these things for ourselves. And now we're able to teach that to people that are maybe on a similar path or looking for similar experiences.
Mhm.
I love that you brought in these pieces, elements of suppression and expression, because I
Mhm.
think that's so much specifically when we talk about sexuality, but intimacy and relationship in general is moving from this place of where am I not able to express myself,
Mhm.
or where am I like shut down in expressing myself, and then what ways can I move into expression? And what better place than relating, even
Mhm.
when it's awkward or uncomfortable, or I don't have the tools yet, but the willingness to forge forward and be like, I'm gonna learn this. And I think it's one of the most overlooked things is like the potency of relationship, which I hear in your guys' story is there's something here and we're gonna figure out how to navigate this.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in so many ways, like we like to tell people, like we did everything you should not do when opening a relationship. We didn't even like have a base for our own monogamous relationship, and we're like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
So we very much learned everything not to do. But we knew there was something there. We just didn't know. We didn't have the words for it. We didn't have, yeah, the mindset for it. But we just kept looking, and we found it.
Hmm.
We built it.
Yeah.
Chris,
Uh,
I want to hear a little bit from you in this experience of growing up, this one route, which I think so many people can relate with, is just like, there's only one way you live your life. And sadly, most of it's connected to religion. And then meeting Tony and he's sharing these things, like, what was that experience like for you to be like, what?
Exactly, like literally mind blowing. Yeah, I was 22 or 21. I had already had a corporate job. I was well on my way to making like six figures. I had bought a house with the partner that I had at the time. I like the only thing I hadn't checked off the box was having a baby, right? So I'm like, done. I did it. Like, check, 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 check. And then this man comes and also like he's not only teaching me like these new ways, but I'm feeling something different with him, right? Like the minute that we connected, I was like a magnet.
mhm.
And yeah, this was definitely like my body really leading and me like listening to my body probably for the first time in my entire life. Because had I thought with my brain, right, I would have been like, nope, that's like everything my mother told me was wrong is what's happening right here. Don't do any of this. But I very much just listened to my body and I'm like, no, there's something here for me and I'm just gonna follow that. Um, but it was like conscious shifting, like an alternate reality. Like there's so much we can explore in this world, so much pleasure we can have in this world. And we just like are open to the possibilities that it has.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I want to have conversations with people like you two is because I don't think a lot of people still know the options that exist of all the different ways that people can relate. Like
Mhm.
we're in the bubble now. We're
Mhm.
we're in the bubble. We can't help it. There's a lot of people not in these bubbles that are still living with a perspective of you can only live one way and you can only relate one way. And there's a variety of what that one way may look like for people, but it's still this perception of one way. And that's why I think it's important to have these conversations where, you two are relating in a way that might be different to other people, but you're also building experiences as well, where it's inviting people in to discover that. And I think it's important because how do I know what I really am or enjoy if I've only seen one thing?
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. And there's so many different like, and I'm not knocking anybody specifically, but there's so many books that like that I've went and read to research, and it's like polyamory is this way, and it like has to be this, but it's like, no, it's what is right for you. Like,
Mhm.
I've time and time again, like we at some point along the way, we started just like our first step was like coaching couples who wanted to be non-monogamous, and we were like trying to give them the tools, and it's usually comes after they try and fail. So it's like a wife gets permission to go out on a date and then just goes out on like 30 dates in the first month and like thinks the husband doesn't have to be included, and like and they just make all of these mistakes because they don't know. It's like, well, feel into like what you really want, communicate it like with your partner and make sure everybody's on board. But yeah, it's the even now polyamory has kind of come into the main light. We're seeing it in movies, and we're seeing that it's surging, but there's still so much that people just don't know about it. That it doesn't have to be thruples, it doesn't have to be, swingers, it doesn't have to be like any one thing. I mean, like it's still like I love it when we meet somebody new that's not necessarily like in the community or in the bubble, like you put it, and they like ask me, well, like what my relationship dynamic is, and it's like, well, I have a wife who's like my forever, and like a really like a girlfriend who's like also like a deep lovership and feels like forever, but we're also in this like 12-person polycule, so we also have like lots of lovers that we're not really like dating, intimately, but like we're like we love them and we're close with them and we connect when it flows. And it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, people are just like, what did you just say? Like it's hard to wrap your head around like what all is possible when you attune to each other and you like
Into
feel
each
in what
other.
your desires are,
Mhm.
and you find where all of those overlap, and like you don't put like limitations on what can
Mhm.
be,
Yeah.
and you just explore what's good for you.
Mhm.
Hmm, hmm,
Yeah. So even like even in our 12-year relationship, we've gone through phases where we had like multiple partners. We've gone through phases where we were monogamous, sometimes monogamish, sometimes just like
Hmm.
just sexually open. Even in our 12-year relationship, which we normally say we're poly, but also in that we've like ebbed and flowed with the possibilities according to like what we're really needing in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm. I think that this conversation, I think a lot of people it scares to even think about
Mhm.
because there is a lot of undefinable for people within that unknown. Like
Mhm.
monogamy is like you're with one person forever. It's done. No more conversation about it. And there is such a diversity in ethical non-monogamy now, consensual non-monogamy, all, poly, all these different versions of it. One of the things that I think is so potent about the other styles that is important both in monogamy as well, but when you're in poly relationship styles or non-monogamy, it requires to be more attuned and have skills like communication and boundaries and all these things because it will blow up if you don't, and it will become a quick mess. And I think a lot of people fixate on that happening in poly or non-monogamy relationships, but it's like look at monogamy. It's a skill that's required everywhere. It doesn't matter the relationship style. There's skills here that most people don't have, and unless they go build them, they won't have them. For monogamy or poly or anything, these skills that have to do with one person relating to another
Mhm.
help all styles of relating.
Great. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
so important.
Yeah, it's just a basic human,
Yeah.
like if you want to function in the world, like you've got to
Mhm.
be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Like we need to be able to communicate, or else your boundaries are going to be crossed. You're not going to get what you want. Like, yeah, like you said, regardless of relationship style, regardless of in relationships, like if
Same.
we have to be able to like have better communication skills.
Yeah. Yeah, like we often have people say like they'll come to our events and they share like, yeah, I helped them in their relationships or maybe like sexually or in their personal, but like also like life, like their work.
Mhm.
Like they're able to like actually set good boundaries with their work and have a good work-life balance. They're able to like just speak more openly in work and not be scared of some things, you know? So you can apply this to any relationship. Every relationship is an opportunity to apply this,
Mhm.
whether it's romantic or not.
So you two, you were finding your way, you were learning, you were going to events, and in that exploration at some point it was switching into you desiring to share what you were learning. What was that journey like from you guys just exploring on your own and learning these things and then going into actually holding space or being the ones that were leading?
Mm. Yeah, I think that was kind of like a lot of little steps over the past like 10 years because I detached from corporate in 2015. So it's just now it's been like 10 and a half years since I left my corporate role and I've been teaching fitness or
You did well.
nutrition or like all different kinds of things within health and wellness. So like I've been a coach or a teacher for over 10 years and kind of what like came up through all of those practices and all of those different roles,
Mhm.
people were hiring me either in the gym or in the yoga studio or whatever, and like they were coming to me and yeah, we were like working out in the gym, but like they were looking for somebody to talk to and to make a connection and to like and like it wasn't like that they weren't doing enough push-ups and setups and squats. It was like their home life was a wreck or their
Mm,
environmental stress at work was a wreck. So like probably about 7 or 8 years ago is whenever we started leaning more into like, and that was also, it just happened about the same time that like we had started taking on coaching couples, like I mentioned earlier, of like just couples that are like wanting to explore non-monogamy. And we started sitting down with couples and just like sharing our story. Like she said, we started out by doing everything wrong and learning all of the lessons. So we just like shared our story of like, this is what's needed if you're going to go do this and not blow up your marriage. Like, here's how you can do it, and it's actually additive to your marriage. So we started like coaching couples a long time ago, and then we did that on and off for probably 5 or 6 years. And then Tantra came in, and we started like really studying Tantra and like learning more of the spiritual aspects of like how like conscious connections and even like some of the communication skills and drills that comes from like the Tantra world. We started weaving those in, and like she always says, like we knew that we wanted to create an event. We knew that we wanted to build a community of like our like-minded people. And so like we created the event to like bring our offering and bring our knowledge instead of like it was like an expansion of like, yeah, we can go sit down with a couple and we can like pour our heart out and like help them, but we wanted to just expand that and start hosting bigger events and bigger community and like grow our community here in Austin. So
mm,
that was like the kind of the piece of like all of the little steps that kind of came to us like really thinking like we need to host an event to teach what we didn't have 12 years ago.
No.
So
mm,
Yeah, I like to add that, like, when we got here, yes to all of that, and truly, we were new to Austin and didn't know one person. Um, so selfishly, we just really wanted friends that were like us. We're like,
mhm,
where are our friends? So we actually went to an event first, and that's where like it sparked our idea. And then we created this event to selfishly like meet people because
mhm,
we were
mhm,
new to a city and we didn't know how to make friends. So we created it. We brought
mhm,
them to us.
mhm.
You know, we have like a
mm,
beautiful community that, yeah, we get to spend time with and we get to help people on their path as well now.
Yep.
mm.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. The human side of your own journeys and wanting to curate community around you to be in the things that you were learning,
Yep.
not only to share them, but just so you could have them around you to be in more.
Yeah.
Mhm,
It's like medicine for us as well. Every time we host an event, I'm like, ah, yes. Like I needed to hear that or I needed to feel that or see that. Like, yeah, it's always medicine for us every time we host something as well.
mhm.
Let's dive into just an overview of the events you put on, the three different events you put on, and then I'd love to just kind of go through them and hear the juice and what you experience and what you see people move through and the challenges they face in relating in those different events. I think there'd be a lot to see there, but let's just start with like an overview of the events you put on.
Yeah, so the events are Awaken. Right now, there's just a level one, two, and three, where it's a natural progression. So Awaken is it's everybody's clothes stay on. It's like a PG-13 version where it's
Mhm.
really safe for beginners. And like I mentioned earlier, the root of it is communication.
Mhm.
So essentially, like, yes, there is like play, but the format is we created a deck of cards that are prompts. They're like suggestions of like basically foreplay scenes.
Mhm.
Right? It could be anywhere from eye gazing and just like setting in the yum and looking at each other and breathing together. So a very tantric energy, or it could be a sensual massage, or like we even have like really kinky cards in there that like involve impact play and restraint. So we have this like deck of cards that is a wide variety of different flavors of connection,
Mhm.
and they're all like meant to be group. Like so, it could be just two people. Couples can come and just play like just in their union.
Mhm.
It or I can pull a card and be like, I want eight people to join me in the scene, and like so it's like it's made to be for group dynamics and but that's like the first level is like this prompt is like a suggestion. So you pull the card and we're all sitting in this big circle and it's like, this is what the card says. Hold my hands behind, restrain my hands behind my back and kiss my neck for 30 seconds
Mhm.
or whatever the card says. And then like you get to like pause and feel into that and be like, I don't know if I want that. Like I want to start with a hug or whatever. Or it's like that's way too mild. So like the first encouragement is like ask for what you want, express yourself.
Mhm.
Like what do you desire?
Yeah.
So you speak into the group like what is your true desire? What do you want to do? If you can modify the card to that, or you just ask for whatever it is you want.
Mhm.
And then you get to like invite the people to join you. And
Mhm.
you, if it's like some people's like, I want this person. And so then there's like a request for a specific person, or it's like anybody that's willing to do this with me, like come into the middle. And then like the people that were invited get to like, this is like the boundary setting side of the conversation. They've been invited to go do the scene that they didn't create. So they get a chance to like pause and feel into their body, like, ooh, am I a yes for that? Am I a no for that?
Mhm.
And then like one of like the juice in I think like one of the biggest like nuggets in our event is like we teach people like when is it appropriate to negotiate, right? If you've been to any consent event ever, it's like no or yes primarily. If you're a full fuck yes, then yes, go do it. If there's any hesitation in your body whatsoever, that's a no. But like we add in a layer of like when is it appropriate to negotiate, and so that looks like I'm not a yes, I'm a no to holding your hands behind your back and kissing your neck,
Mhm.
but I would hold your hands behind your back and blow on your neck, or you know like I would do something that doesn't involve like my
Yeah.
lips on your body. So
Mhm.
like if you've been asked a question, then you get the opportunity to negotiate and then like return what you are willing to do,
Mhm.
and then like then we can guide some negotiation and get to where everybody's within their boundaries and everybody's doing something that they want to do, and then you go to the middle of the circle and you do the scene in front of everyone. So and then we all take turns like pulling a card and asking for what we want, and we get to see a wide variety of different flavors. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's level one.
Yeah, and then they get progressively spicier and less clothes as
So I
higher.
I I actually realized I want to go through them one at a time and be
Okay,
There
in
we
them
go.
because I already
perfect.
got excited about so many things you just said to go into and I don't want to wait. Um, I think in the level one, there's already so much that your everyday average person needs.
Mhm.
Mhm.
just especially in, I mean, well, I won't say that in all relationships. I was gonna say especially in monogamous relationships, but in all relationships to have these skills, to particularly speak to what we want
Yep.
Mhm.
and practice our yes and no's
Hmm.
Mhm.
and be able to receive no's. Like just that right there.
Mhm.
I'm still practicing those things to do that in a good way of clarity of my desire through all the filters of what I should or shouldn't want or what I've done in the past or this and that, like the whole mess that's in there just around the clarity of desire to get to come together in a group space where some maybe I don't know most of the people there. Maybe I don't know any of them and I'm practicing this, which is a whole other level. There's so much for people to practice and learn here and when it comes that will help them to develop the best relationship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
curious what you see in the people that show up there that's just like a like memorable for you or it's a pattern that you see or just what are some of the discomforts and celebrations and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like one of my favorite things is like what we talked about earlier, not realize how many options there are. So like at the Tantra Festival, it was a great example because we had a lot of new people. We typically, our containers are like 25 people or smaller. So we only have like five, maybe 10 new people, not a lot. But here we had a lot of new people. So you could feel and you could see as they were like going around, like them, a light bulb in their head, like, oh, like like I can ask for anything, like literally anything I want, and like people will honor their boundaries and take care of them if they don't want to do it. But you could just like, yeah, the more we go around, like the braver people get because they're realizing like, oh, like yeah, I really can. Like I
Mhm.
really can go big here and that's okay. It'll be held.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like my favorite thing is like the creativity that it
Mhm.
sparked. And it's kind of what you're talking
Totally.
about. It's like not only is it like people start to like feel more and more into the permission of like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
like that person just had like four girls just he just laid down on the ground and had four girls just like set on him and like simultaneously rock back and forth on top of him. It's like, holy fuck, like I can ask for that. And it's like, yeah, you can ask for whatever the fuck you want, man. Like as long as your clothes stay on, you can do anything you want here. Um, and so, but then it's like there's this like thing, this spark that like once that permission comes and people start to get really fucking
Get creative.
creative and like we've made some really cool cards. Like some of our cards are like so fun to play. And every event I'm like, how did you come up with that? Like,
Mhm.
what are you like? It's just so interesting to sit back now that we've seen probably over 100 people come through this
Mhm.
event. All of the different things that people will just like, I want this, and you're doing this to me while this person's doing this to me, and it's like the creativity that like comes alive in people whenever they fully feel safe to express and like get that permission slip that
Mhm.
it's like truly safe to ask for whatever's in your head.
Mhm.
It's really special.
Mhm.
There's a thread here for me that's there's this conversation, it's often within a heterosexual dynamic where there's that saying of the blue dress or the red dress and how much there's a desire for the man to be like, I want the fucking red dress. Like, I want to see you in the red dress and have an opinion and have a desire and have a care. And I'm connecting that here to this practice, which is I think that a lot of men haven't had opportunities to learn this skill. I'm focusing on men right now, but people in general, to say, this is what I want. This is how I want it, just like this. And, a big part for me is getting comfortable with it's okay to get a no,
Mhm.
but how important it is to have the skill to really feel into, like you said,
Mhm.
I can ask for anything here. I
Mhm.
can ask anything in this space, and I trust the other person to take care of themselves and what they're open to, but I've got to put it out there for it to even be a possibility.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. Like for the and the other piece that I wanted to add about like the thing that we see a lot,
Mm,
the men like being able to like learn to like receive that no. And again, speaking to men, but like
mm,
everybody needs to learn to be able to receive a no.
yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the biggest healing pieces and some of the biggest lessons that like I've seen is because, and again, I'm going to speak about like majorities. I know we all sometimes just like caretake and please and like
Mm,
want to take care of others' emotions, but like time and time again, because we always offer like, hey, we're here for support if something came up for you after and you need to reach out to us. And like multiple women have like reached out to me a few days
mm,
later and they're like, I'm so like happy, like it was a bad experience, but I'm so happy for like what you're creating because I found myself just like not honoring my no. And I said yes to somebody at your event of something that wasn't radical and it wasn't way over my boundary, but it was over a boundary. And I actually just was worried about their feelings and I didn't want to give them a no. So I just said yes.
mm,
And now I feel that in my body. And I'm like so grateful for this experience because now I'm gonna fucking say no when it's a no. And so like that's one of the biggest things that like I've seen that as just like life-changing like lessons learned for people.
mhm.
Mm, mm,
Powerful.
mm. All right, Chris, take us into level two.
Oof. Okay, level two is the same format. Um, except for this one, like I said, less clothes. The only boundary is panties stay on during the actual game. And then we take a break after the game and we open an open temple for anybody that wants to explore. It's just an hour temple, so it's a little bit short, but just like a little taste of what it would be like to like just go and explore after you've experienced all these like foreplay scenes and speaking your desires. Like, how can you take that now and like go actually practice it? Um, so that's level two.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
go ahead.
will
Yeah.
you tease apart the temple side of it for the listeners of what that really means, of a temple experience after the event?
Yeah, so this is what I like to call like an open format temple. We'll take a break and then we'll meet again in a circle before we actually start. We'll kind of go over like reminders like, hey, everything you learned here is to practice in these formats, right? It's to practice and take it out in the real world. So remember to have like our BDSM conversations or have conversations with people before you connect. So we'll just kind of cue that up. And then really it's you find your own experience. So like one of our agreements when we're creating containers is you're the creator of your own experience. This temple is really your is that because nobody's going to guide anything for you. You're going to go find it, you're going to go create it, you're going to go ask for it.
Mm,
Uh, so it's like taking that, asking for your desires to another level, because you literally have to go like up to the person and be like, would you like to do this with me right now?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just go find a place that's open and you connect, obviously with consent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's no guided anything. You're just exploring and creating your experience,
mm, mm.
hmm which is hard for a lot of people to like just go up and ask. And
Mm-hmm.
that's again why we do the game, right?
Yeah.
Just
What's the big difference between one and two when you guys are actually curating it? What are some shifts that happen from one and two? So two, you've already experienced one now.
yep.
So you've got a rep in, you've got a little practice in, maybe feeling a little bit more confident or bold. And
Mm-hmm.
now there's an option for less clothing, so larger asks and even more variety. What are some of the things that you see pop in level two with kind of these pieces in there?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the fact like there's definitely been level two events where there's like no change in the format whatsoever, but just the fact that everybody is almost naked, like the scenes are just so much more juicy and so much more sexy. So like for me, I feel like we don't have to change anything in the format. It's
Mhm.
just like all of it all of a sudden like when you're going through those things of like asking for what I really want and like feeling into that no, whenever there's so much more on the table, that just elevates that experience and it gets you like closer to your edge of comfort. So it isn't always different. I mean, one of the things that we definitely do differently is that in the level one event, we'll probably talk for an hour and a half before we even start the game. Like talking about exercises and yes and no and when it's appropriate to negotiate. So there's like so much like lecture and like teaching before we even start playing the game. With level two, it's like, okay, we're here, we agree to the agreements, and we do a quick little warm-up exercise of like, some sort of like little brief communication and we jump right into the game. So like that's the major difference is like everybody there has like we know has had some training and we can get right into like the juiciness of the event and we start to like and there's like cards that we like there's cards that are only for level two that are require a lot less clothing and there's things like that that we kind of sprinkle in a little bit of extra magic here and there.
Yeah, definitely becomes spicier, but it also like um it pushes you to your edge a little bit further, right? So there's a potential for you to maybe be triggered or something come up for you more potentially because we are wearing less clothing. So sometimes people like yeah, they're the what's a good word for it? Like what they're feeling could be a little bit like more edgy than they normally would have in the level one because of all the safety that's involved, right? So I feel like this is like a bigger opportunity to really like go to your edge and like see what's there and see what you can learn and heal from when we're have a little bit less clothes on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest like shift that I notice,
Yeah.
especially if like you mentioned earlier is like the just speaking your desires. Like as and I'll speak to just like as a man, like if I'm sitting in a circle and everybody has all their clothes on and I just like, hey, does somebody want to rub my shoulders? Like that's a pretty easy ask for me.
Yeah.
May not be for everybody. It's a pretty easy ask for me.
Yeah.
But like if I'm sitting in a room with, 20 women that are just wearing panties, like even that, just like, hey, I'm gonna go to the middle and I just want three of you to come rub my shoulders. It's like, that's a big fucking ask. Like, especially if you don't know them and like you're meeting them for the first time. So, yeah, it's like the courage that it
Yeah.
takes to ask for what you want,
Ooh.
like so much more intimacy and sensuality on the table. It definitely gets amplified quite a bit.
As I feel into it and have visions in my mind, the other thing that we're facing is being more exposed.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
easy to be hidden behind clothes, and I can choose this image and I buy this nice shirt or pants or whatever. But when I take that all away, there I am, just me in my skin. So there is this, in alignment with what you're pointing at there, there's more sensation in where my mind can go if someone says no. More
Exactly.
so than when I have clothes on. If I don't have clothes on, my head, they said no because I'm too fat. They said no because I'm this. Da, 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 da. Like the head can trip more because there's less masks or hiding that are present.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
vulnerable.
hmm
Yes. Yeah.
hmm
Okay. Beautiful. Now let's go two to three. What's the big change from two to three?
2 to 3 is well that was has been asked for by the community a lot. It's like as we just did 1 and 2 for the first 2 years, and everybody's like, when's level three? What's level three? Like, what does that look like? And so we actually just started that this year. And
Nice.
and so level three, so level two was like panties have to stay on. So that means like no actual penetrative sex is happening in the card game. There's the option to stay after for the temple, and you can explore whatever you want to within consent. But level three, we were just like, there's no boundaries on the game as long as you're following all of the protocols of like asking for what you want and honoring people's, boundaries and like there's good communication in the scene building, but that means like you can go out and have sex with your partner for 3 minutes in the middle of the circle in front of everybody. Or you can whatever, like anything, like you can ask for absolutely anything. There's no boundaries on clothing.
Container.
There's no container boundaries on clothing. It's up to each individual person to set their personal boundaries. So it just level three is a much shorter game. So
Hmm.
like level two is like the game is most of the night and there's a little temple at the end. It's like an hour.
Yep.
So level three is like the reverse of that.
Yep.
There's like one round of like a warm up exercise of like here let's just go through the like the process of like asking for what you want, maybe getting a no, like communication back and forth. And we put like really crazy cards in there that's like
Hmm.
wild scenes. So it's like it's a different deck of cards. And yeah, anything is on the table. And so we'll play one full round and everybody like the scenes are a little bit longer because like anything is on the table. So, level one, it's like 90-second scenes, but it's like, you know, there's not a lot that can happen in 90 seconds, right? When anything is on the table. So it's a shorter round.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so we play a round of that. Everybody gets to ask for whatever their big desire is. And then we have that like kind of guided structure that gets everybody into their body that we've already practiced communication one more time when you can ask for literally anything you want. And then same format as before, we'll bring the game to a close, we'll have a little check-in, we'll let everybody go like take care of themselves, we'll circle back up and we'll have the same kind of conversation of like we're moving into open play. This is a temple. That means anything like full sexual connection is on the table. Just take these things that we're like that we've been learning in one, two, and three and like have a conversation and like really try to find like asking for what you want and like really attuning to the person across from you and like listening to like what their response is and like find what you really truly want to be doing and the way you connect. And so it's a longer temple and
Hmm.
it's just it's a it's an open format temple where we're just there as kind of guides to hold the container for people to explore and sensuality, sexuality, intimacy, whatever it is they're
Self
desiring.
expression.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you got, Chris?
Nothing.
What's the difference of two to three in your eyes?
Um, yeah, I think you said it. Again, it's just like you feel it gets more edgy, right? There's more potential for things to come up, which is like, in my opinion, the good stuff. Like that's where we learn, and that's where, from that comes more pleasure, right? From being able to meet your edges and really acknowledging things, you open up to even more pleasure next time. So
Hmm.
I just love the opportunities we get to, yeah, really work on things when they come up.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing that I'll add about level three that we've like really talked about incorporating is that because these are a much smaller container, because it's, the kind of the
Hmm.
more open the container is as far as like what's possible, we tend to like bring the head count down. So there's that feeling of safety. So I'm not naked and sex is on the table and there's 120 people in the
Yeah.
room. So like we bring bring the container down a little smaller, but the other thing that like we're really excited about doing is like curating like real specific like events. It's like this maybe we host one where it's like this is only couples and it's
Hmm.
only couples that are like really exploring this energy and like that's the thing that I'm most excited about level three is like it's that container, it's all that same framework, but we could host one where it's just like this is just all LGBT friendly and this is like a queer party and like that's going to be the energy of the night and we can like really dive into like the nuances of like how that affects your
Hmm.
communication or we can how do couples navigate like
Yeah.
if like their only experience as a swingers club like was
Yeah.
ours 12 years
Yeah.
ago never been in a conscious container
Yeah.
like we can guide a very like specific niche in these containers, so that's
Hmm.
something that I'm really excited about for level three.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of space that's being missed out actually of conscious sensuality, sexuality for monogamous couples that it just like it goes to swinger or these other things that there's space that couples could come do experiences like this together with other couples and
Hmm.
go into sensual or sexual experiences, but in their couples too. But being even just to be a couple around other couples being intimate
Yeah.
is hugely expansive. And, I think there's a lot that's being missed in that space. So I love that you brought that up. And there's another thing, Chris, that you said that I think's a really important piece for us all to discuss here, which is around when things come up. You said when things come up, we have more room for pleasure. I wanted us all to riff on that for a moment because I think that that's one of the main reasons the three of us are all involved in the things that we do that have to do with sensuality or sexuality that I think is often missed in a lot of ways is that sensuality, sexuality, things coming up there is one of the greatest places to make capacity for more pleasure and power.
Mhm.
So let's go into that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Pleasure is medicine. Like we have done a lot of plant medicine and that kind of medicine work. We've done all kinds of other work, but like being in your pleasure is also really healing and like medicine for you, right? Like when we go into altered states of consciousness, we can change stories, we can rewrite patterns, we can do these things. Like being in an erotic state is the same thing.
Hmm.
So I feel like there's so much healing to be had in any container like that.
Yeah. And it's like it's the rewiring of the thing that came
Mm-hmm.
up that was like keeping you from going towards that pleasure, right? So like I can't remember who it was, but a book I read or somebody smart said that like if you're feeling jealousy, like right, if jealousy is a big one that comes up, especially in group dynamics, if that thing comes up for you and like we tend to always just like, oh, it's bad, I'm feeling guilty or I'm feeling shame because like I'm feeling jealousy over my partner even though I'm here also and I have desires. But like if we just immediately label jealousy as like a negative thing, right, like then that's going to create a negative experience in your body. But if you look at jealousy as like, well, jealousy can be a doorway to what you want. Like jealousy is like a lot of times like a light shining on the thing that you want.
Mm,
So so that's like what you're saying. That's a thing that can come up that you get to sit with and like don't immediately just label it as bad
Mm-hmm.
and just think, well, why is this coming up? And like, what does that mean for me? And am I truly like, do I truly not want that? Or is like that guy just more masculine than I am? And like, and now I'm actually a little insecure or whatever. So like but you can use that as like a pathway to something that you actually really desire.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
mm,
I like go get back in the gym and like feel more masculine so that I can do that. And then I'm just like full of fucking pleasure because like I did the thing.
mm,
And yeah, like you say, like things can come up and it's like if something big emotionally is coming up for you, that means that it's like attached to something. Like just like what we do in work with like shadow work and like all of these different things. There's sexual shadow work of like this thing is coming up for me and like what's underneath it. What do I need to like heal? What do I need to let go? Or what do I need to like bring
Mm-hmm.
in and like take on as part of me? And so that I can move through this. And on the other side of that obstacle is almost always a lot more pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
mm. One of the things I think that's special about intimacy and sexuality is I think it's the place where I can discover I'm still holding how someone feels about me as a reflection of me.
Mm,
That their behavior is somehow a representation of me. And it's one of those places within intimacy and sexuality that I get to still discover where I'm holding that as my barometer, which is something that we have to navigate in maturity of going from a child to an adult, which is where am I still holding what someone is reflecting of me as me?
mhm,
And just coming up against that over and over again. And the only way, as you said, was to move through that is to have it come up.
mhm,
So, oh man, I just asked for this thing that I want. Oh, this person's so attractive. They said no to me. Like, oh, I'm so this. wow, okay, now I have all of this to be aware of and sort through so that I'm no longer giving that responsibility to these pe random people in the world around me. That is like that's not their responsibility anymore. That I'm working on that within myself. So I think that's one of the things that I see special about intimacy and sexuality. There's something extra magnifying about what I believe true about myself, depending upon how someone else loves me or not, or, is sensual with me or not.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's why those no's are so powerful, right? Like we often say like a no is a gift. One, it's a gift because like we don't want to connect with somebody that doesn't want to connect with us, right? But it's also a gift because it gives you that opportunity to maybe like feel some of those feelings you were talking about, like, oh, like that person told me no, and this is like this story in my head is still coming up. Like, okay, thank you for that gift of giving me the opportunity to see this and like work on it. Yeah,
Hmm.
Mm.
great opportunity.
Hmm.
So, all right. We've got the listeners and we've shared what you guys have been working on and what you've been learning. What are some of the things, and this might be correlated to level one. What are some of the key things? Maybe people don't live in Austin, they can't come visit you, they can't come to your events. What are some things that you see as foundational for a person that's like, man, I need to step my game up with these skills. Me and my partner are not getting along. Our intimacy sucks. Our relationship is not full of turn on and vitality. What are some of the things that you want to point people towards to go on this path that may not be able to attend your retreats and your events?
Hmm.
That's such a good question.
Hmm.
Mm,
I'll jump in.
please.
Um, yeah, I say step one is practicing with somebody that it's safe to just ask some hard questions. So like I want to say I can't remember the teacher, but like the very first Tantra teacher I started following and studying, there was just a really simple eye gazing drill. And it was like just sit across from your partner and ask
Mm,
three simple questions.
love that.
What do you really want? And then
Ooh,
just like shut up and listen and
ooh.
like let them say what they really want. And like don't interrupt,
No
don't
feedback.
add back, just like let them speak for I think it's like 90 seconds or something.
Mm.
And then that's done and we don't spiral off into any other conversations. Then they ask you like what do you really want? And then you get like 90 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever you decide, to just like say whatever you really want. And then it's like, what are you scared of?
Mhm.
And then that's question two. And then the last question is, what do you love about me? And and it's just this perfect framework of like asking like what do you really want? Like I don't know how many people, like most of the people that I have coached
Mhm.
in relationships, if there's struggles, like that's one of the first questions I ask them, like, well, what do you really want? Like, do you know what your partner really wants? Like, and most people just don't know that. And
Mhm.
so I think that's step one is
Mhm.
just like finding a safe place and it's got to be mutual agreement, right? You can't just like go up and be like, what do you really want without like all the prep we're doing,
Open
right?
the door. What do you really want?
So, creating some intentional time to have a deep conversation
Yeah.
and to explore that and practice. And it's a skill, and
That's
and it sucks the first 3 or 4 or 5 times you do it because it's like it's a skill you're building. So, like I think that's step one. If you don't have access to going to retreats, and there's books online, and there's all kinds of like resources, and there's a lot of like tantra schools that are doing online teaching that's like beautiful. But I think that's literally step one is just like practicing that skill of like asking deep conversations to the people that you care about.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in that reply, what I hear also under that is like there's a framework, but you said is the intentionality of just prioritizing the relationship. I think that at a foundational level, that's what a lot of relationships lack is this partnership of prioritizing to do it together and to learn and to try new things, like to eye gaze and ask this question could be incredibly uncomfortable and unfamiliar and all these things, but it's like the willingness to work on supporting the relationship. And it's a living thing. It needs nutrients. It needs life and sustenance. And so, yeah, I was thinking about as you were sharing that, like what is under that intentionality, communication, valuing, and setting aside time for one another. There's like those foundational pieces.
Mhm.
Yeah, setting time for each other is very important. Like we still do that. Like on our calendar, we pick a date for like a day for us and then like a day for him and then a day for me. Like still to this day, 12 years later, we're setting that time aside intentionally on our calendar. We're not waiting for it to be like come up naturally. Sometimes it does. Like I'm not gonna say it doesn't, but like we're making it a priority 12 years later still to like, yeah, sit together, be together, whatever's coming up. Sometimes it's a conversation that we've been maybe avoiding and really needed time to talk about it. Sometimes it's just like 4 hours of orgasmic sex. Sometimes it's like massage. Sometimes it is awkward because maybe we've been really busy and we haven't been like connecting intimately. Like just making space for whatever is there at the moment between you two is so important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
guys, you got to be putting them several hours on the calendar for some tantric sex. Come on.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna share on that a little bit. Like that means like intimacy to me is like such a wide range again. Like one of the things people learn in our game is like intimacy is like to me eye gazing. Like that 4 hours is maybe like like a couple minutes of eye gazing, and then he gets a massage, I get a massage. Like the actual sex part is not all the 4 hours, right? Like you can do that. But like, don't get like I'm just saying, like, don't like be intimidated by that, right?
Yeah.
Like, intimacy is such a wide range, and that's what some people learn in this game is like, yeah, like back scratches. Like back scratches to me are like something that I love them. They turn me on so much. So like
Mm.
that's a random example of like what
Yeah,
intimacy
yeah. Yeah. I feel you. And when I'm in those experiences, a lot of the time I'm just asking for some head scratches and someone like pushing on my chest or, it's just like there's some simple things that I feel a lot of pleasure with.
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. Hmm.
So, you guys just spoke at the Tantra Festival. You're on your journey. What's 2026 look like for you in your explorations and the community building that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, we have put out requests to present at other Tantra festivals. We also, we're doing just a lot. We filled out our annual calendar and we blocked off like every Tantra festival that's in the US and Mexico. Yeah, we're taking that out. We're launching. The other thing that's like really big that's this year is like this event that we created, like the Awaken, like what we are going to do now that we've been doing that for a little over 2 years now, and it's like become this like really beautiful thing, and we're taking it to these bigger events and festivals and like presenting that. Now like we're ready to like see other people doing this, and we're ready to like not hold it to just ourselves, and we want that to like go out into the world. So you can buy like the deck of cards for yourself. Like if you have a community over in California or Oregon or like wherever, like you can get like this deck of cards and you can get training from us from all of the stuff that we've learned over the last couple of years of like it's because it's so much more than just a deck of cards, right?
Mhm.
It's like anybody can like write sexy scenes on a bunch of pieces of paper, but it's like how do you truly make that safe for other people?
Mhm.
How do you like truly set that container to where people feel safe to express themselves? And how can you guide people to like really know that it's okay to accept that no, and like that it's okay to not take it personally? So that's probably the other than just going and presenting more. We're rolling out like a training program to where people can actually take the what we have created here, and like you can take it to wherever you are, and you can start to build your own little tantric community of, yeah, fun, like-minded lovers and friends.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mhm.
Yeah. I think our
beautiful.
is expansion and
Mhm.
mine is amplify.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, spreading the message, sharing the medicine, because we are in such a bubble in Austin, which is why we picked to move here 2 years
Mhm.
ago. Um, but we also know what it's like not having this medicine, not having access to these things, because we're from Arkansas, a place where, yeah, there isn't much, if any, of this that I know of. So we want to gift that back. And like, so we're going to be finding ways to do that
Mhm.
by like training other people to share it in their communities, by going to festivals in different states.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just really want everybody should have access.
Mm,
There's healing here that I want to share with everybody.
mm.
Mhm.
Well, I will put links in the description for the listeners to check out what you're doing, check out the deck, check out your social media. Thank you so much for joining on the show today and all that you're doing out in the world. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was a
Yeah.
blast.
And to all the listeners, this episode really is about exploration outside of the known. What is the bubble that you're stuck in, and what might be outside of the bubble that you're in? And how can you go learn skills around relationship, communication, boundaries, relating with other people that you can bring in not only into your intimate relationships, these are skills for your family, for your children, for people in power. It's all relating. We're just talking about a version that forces us to learn it at a high level. And so then bringing it out into the rest of the world is much easier. So that's what I want you to get from this episode is to go learn how to consciously relate with people, get more skilled at it. It's endless. You could spend your whole time learning it and you'd still have more to learn and enjoy the process. So much more to come on the podcast. Take care.